Um, so I'll do the recap and then I'll check how the recording, the quality of the recording, and then I'll see whether to record the entire session. But maybe let me start by introducing. Kenya JUG. I've changed the audio a bit. I hope if you guys can still hear me.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So I think I can start by introducing what Java by example is, and welcome to those who are joining. So the Java by example is a weekly live coding session where, as a community, we meet and we work on a specific project. The nature and the scope of the projects will be changing with time. And the idea is we don't have a predefined script of what we are going to do. Instead, everything we do is determined during the session. And the idea is to just collaborate in finding solutions, coming up with the design patterns to solve a problem that we've selected. That is the goal. And through the sessions, the nature of the sessions evolve. Sometimes we hit blockers, but the participation of the audience your participation is very much required in this one. So you're not just passive listeners. So we expect, at least I hope that as we progress, if we hit a wall, we can discuss it. Maybe somebody can suggest a solution, or we can figure it out together. So that's what we've been doing the past two sessions. The project that we've selected as at now, which of course once we're done with it we'll be able to change it, is a sort of a component of an electronic medical record system, sort of like the one you'd encounter if you go to like a hospital or a clinic. And the component we are building is something called an encounter. And an encounter is just a fancy word for an interaction between a patient and a clinician, like a doctor, nurse. So when you go to the hospital, of course, you have to like see a doctor. So that would be considered an encounter. So that's the project we've been working on. The expected components for it are an appointment. Somebody can book an appointment. So like if you go to the Aga Khan website or whichever hospital's website, there should be like an appointment menu there, and then you can fill a form and you can book an appointment with a clinician, a doctor, a specialist, whoever. That's the scope of what we are building. It's a very limited component of what EMRs actually do, but it's a core component, so makes it a bit interesting. So how far have we gone? So in the first session, we managed to establish the project, and it's a Spring Boot application. It doesn't have a lot of complexity. We avoided using, let me just open the poem. So we avoided using Spring Data JBE and chose to go with the SQLite for persistence. So for those who don't know, SQLite is a file-based database quote-unquote system that is less sophisticated. Yes, somebody is? Okay. Yeah, and also another thing, feel free to interrupt me. So this is supposed to be an interactive session, so interrupt me as much as you can because it's supposed to be a back and forth. So if you have a question or a suggestion about anything as we progress with the session, feel free to interrupt. So yeah, so I was just doing the recap of where we
let me interrupt you a bit.
Yes.
You can open the meet so that people can just join to be public.
Yeah, that is okay. I think that is actually safe. How do I do that?
There.
Right here.
Yeah, host control.
Okay.
Then scroll to the bottom, and then you make it open.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks for that. That's a very important tip. I think that will save us a lot of time. Yeah. So previously I've had that off because of those guys that like joined to disrupt the session. But this is RSVP only, so I'm sure it will be okay. Thanks, Crispinus for that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so like I was saying, it's a Spring Boot application, and we were able to set it up in the first session, and we were able to set up the SQLite database manager. If we set up the database driver, as you can see in our POM, and we were able to set up the dependencies we needed for Spring, like ThemeLeaf, WebMVC, and some of the testing dependencies. And I think, Maske, maybe you might want to mute yourself. But when you want to speak, just unmute. Yeah. So like I was saying, so we were able to set up the SQLite component by adding the database driver. We discussed that a lot about how that whole mechanic works. And then we were able to set up this encounter database manager class, which is in classic Java design, it's a manager. So it will manage the database for encounters, which should have a few tables. And during this, we wrote some test, encounter database manager test. So this test just checks for the basic functionality that's available under the encounter database manager. And encounter database manager doesn't do a lot. It just obtains a database connection with this get connection method by calling the driver manager and specifying that is SQLite and the database name. A bit of plumbing here is the database name comes from the application properties file here with the key encounter.database, in this case encounter DB, and we had a different one for the test. So we have encounter DB test. So depending on whether you are running a test or running this in production, a different database name will be plugged in here. And being in application properties means you can even change it while the application is running. This is the main thing. We spent a lot of time here because we're discussing some of the mechanics of how that works. The other thing we did was, so on the tests, we were able to test this get connection method, and we're able to test this create schema function. The create schema function basically obtains the connection from this function, checks that connection is not null using this interesting syntax that Job Wangi taught us last session. It's actually a recent Java feature. I think it's related to pattern matching. So it was very interesting to learn about this sort of syntax. The way it works is usually when you do instance of, you're able to just check whether a value is an instance of a particular object. But in this case, we're able to do instance of check and then create a variable if the check succeeds. And also you can negate that so that the variable is available if the check fails, like by adding that exclamation at the front here. So if instance of succeeds, this get connection object. Okay. I thought this should work automatically. Is there something I'm missing? I thought it should allow people in. Steven, is there something that I forgot to like?
Let's go back and it didn't make it open. It's open.
Yeah. Okay. Host must join before anyone else. Okay.
Not really. Just making it open alone is enough.
Okay. Maybe AI wrote the code. They forgot to plug.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay, a lot of software is breaky currently. Even some of the operating systems are not doing very well. Windows 11, macOS, there is that pop sound, like popcorn sound when you are playing audio. They haven't fixed that. I can imagine it's some AI code that's causing these problems.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so like I was saying, I've seen Joe is on the chat. Joe, would you mind recapping this syntax? Just for the guys who are not there last time.
Oh, okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm quite good. Thank you. I see. I think you was this code modified. I think you made some
Yeah,
some.
we made some changes.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
this is
Yeah.
what we had last time.
Yes. Yeah. This is called it's a feature called flow typing. In computer programming, there are two layers of logical, what do you call it? Logical setup in terms of running a program. So there's a compiler level, and then there's a runtime level. So most syntax usually, when we are coding, we tend to think about logical flow when we are coding, thinking about what will happen during runtime, But lately, Java has been focusing what happens during compile time. So if you are able to spot errors early on when you are compiling, you don't have to put much resources in runtime. That's why most functional programming nowadays, it's the it thing. Every new programming language has to focus on the compile time level. So it's usually called type system. So this is a form of type system whereby you give a lot of information to the compiler so that it's able to deduce logical flaws so that it prevents any issues during runtime. So this approach is called flow scoping. So it's a way of actually it's pattern matching is about narrowing types. So if you have an object, you'll check whether it's an instance of a connection. So you're narrowing down from a broad-based object towards a very specific type of object. It's actually what Java is doing. Even future null types will take this approach, but with less syntax, syntax compared to what we are seeing right now. So based on this, if you remove the exclamation marks, you can actually see the logic of it. So you get a connection, and then is it an instance of the type connection? If it's not, if it is, you can access it in the curly brackets inside the curly brackets. That's the logic we have been knowing since a long time ago. But here the pattern matching is narrowing to a specific type. That's why it's possible to initialize to declare the type inside the if bracket. So connection. Actually, it has very specific terminology. It's called binding. Yeah. So if you go to the JVM language specification, you'll see a term called binding. It's used all over the document, but it's an interesting feature. Based on that, if we get connection and then the type is connection, then we can access that connection in the curly brackets. What if it's not? So you can invert that. So by adding the exclamation mark, so that you can now access it outside. Actually, it's just opposite of if that statement inside is it's true. So you put exclamation marks so that the connection object or the binding itself can now escape the if, so you can access it later in the after the if statement. Yeah. So most language have this, but some languages that you might think that might have this, like Scala doesn't have this of all languages, but Rust, I think it has, even I think Swift, but many languages, even Kotlin doesn't have this. So it's an interesting feature. C# has it actually. So it's a new feature, and in future they will modify it further, but that's a discussion for another day. Yeah,
Thank you so much, Joe, for explaining that. I think it's a really cool feature. In Swift, I write some Swift sometimes. We have something called guard statements, and they actually work with the same mechanic. So instead of if here, you'd have a guard, and then if a condition passes, you have this object. If it fails, then the object is not available and you can exit early, which is a good response because if you look at a lot of legacy code, if you have access to like some of the open source legacy Java projects, a good example is OpenMRS, the OpenMRS project. You'll find there's a lot of if. So you find somebody writing if condition. So if that condition is not successful or that condition is not met, then return, which is a way of protecting any code that is available in the rest of the function. So if a particular condition is not met, exit the function, which is a nice way to like avoid executing, parts of the function you don't need, and also it reduces branching. So you don't have to do a lot of branching like if then else. You can just do if this fails, return, which is another way of saying just end the execution. Yes, Joe?
Oh, and then something else I forgot to say is that it also factors in null types. So null types will never pass through. So that's another feature.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Because that's really good because most of us are usually checking for null. So if you are getting a username and that username is null, you don't want to continue processing the user details. So you can have these to like help you validate that. So that's really cool. So you can check the whole object or parts of the object. This was something interesting we learned last session, and I'm glad we were able to recap it. So the other thing we did was we created this SQL statement. First of all, we created the patient object. In this case, we chose to use a record type. So record types are fairly new to Java, not very new because Java is evolving very quickly right now. But they are a way of defining immutable data structures, and the main advantage in terms of syntax is you don't have to write a lot of boilerplate. Basically, the accessors and no argument constructors, you don't have to write those, but also the type itself is optimized, unlike the usual. If you were to write this in a classic POJO function, plain old Java object function, where we'd have getters and setters and no argument constructors and all argument constructors, those objects would be mutable, which means at runtime the JVM would expect it changes to emerge from anywhere in the program. But with records, those are mutable. With the records, these are immutable objects, which means you can get a lot of optimization at runtime, and that might help speed up your program and even make it fairly safe. For instance, if you make a public setter and you did not intend for that to happen, at least with the records you're able to avoid such scenario. But they're just more optimized way in terms of syntax and in terms of runtime optimizations. Records are a good choice to go with some restrictions like using them in JBE objects. There's some mechanics within JBE that would make it not favorable to work with the records for defining entities. But here we were able to do it because our data persistence model is very simple. It's not framework heavy, so we are just running on SQLite. We don't have Spring JDBC here or Spring Data JPA, so we're just working with plain objects, which is nice. Allows us to play around with records. So the patient object is very simplified. We had UID, name, and date of birth. The goal of the project is not to be super accurate in terms of what a DMR would do, but just to have a sandbox where we can experiment with these ideas. So going back to Encounter Database Manager, so we had this query that would initiate. Yes, Joe?
So I wanted to add more information.
Yes.
So records are quite interesting because the beauty about them is that you can add some form of validations. For example, the fields or the members for the records, your ID, name, date of birth. If you have some ranges that you're thinking about, you can actually put them through the compact constructor so that it cannot be changed even using reflection etc. So your data will always be valid, and if it's not, it might throw exception, or you might decide to put some what do you call them? You can make them fit in that range based on what you add inside. So the reason why that's important is because in future the Java will be trying to do some serialization. They are going to renovate, or what do you call it? Introduce a serialization too. So whereby such kind of records, they will be you could be able to access those fields and even initialize records, but the validation will always be invoked by default. So there's no issue of being concerned whether some reflection will change the data or not. And it will be even faster, actually, faster than what we have currently in serialization. So it's an interesting aspect of design that has a lot of potential in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And thank you again for adding on that. You mentioned something about adding validators within the record. I think last year we had someone who presented a talk on how to add those validators. I have to admit I've forgotten how it's done. Is it something that you can walk me through just to demonstrate for somebody else in the call in the meeting who probably also doesn't know how to do it? Or yeah.
Okay, it's quite simple. You enter and then write patient, and then curly brackets.
Oh, okay.
And then now you can. Is it supposed to be public? I think it's supposed to be public. Yeah.
Oh.
Public. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So and then now here, if you let's say the name is a number, you can validate whether it's the name is a number and avoid that. Yeah, so like
maybe check is blank.
Oh yeah, it's blank. Yeah. So yeah, and then you say John Doe or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can assign it.
Oh yeah. Oh, you can even assign it.
Yes.
Name is equals to unknown, perhaps.
Yes.
Or you could even throw an exception. I think I saw the guy throwing exceptions.
Yeah, you can throw exception. Yeah. And there's no way of bypassing that. Even whatever you do, you can't bypass it.
You mentioned it can't even be changed using reflection.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. This is really cool. So we can throw an assertion there. Say name cannot be blank. Like that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can end up just writing the rest of this. So I don't know how we validate DOB unless we had the pattern. Maybe we can just check that it's not blank. But in a real world scenario, you probably write something a bit more sophisticated, maybe a regex that would check that it's actually a date. But in this case, we wouldn't do it just for the purposes of demonstrating. So date of birth is blank. So maybe you can say again that DOB cannot be empty.
Yeah.
Okay, this is nice. Maybe I'll just add the UID one that is blank. Throw new assertion. UID ID cannot be empty. Okay. Is there something you wanted to add, or I can just proceed?
Oh, nothing much. But in future, this feature will be available in all classes, so even interfaces, everything. Yeah. So the career classes that have been proposed a few weeks ago will have these features. Yeah.
Very nice. Java is changing in the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe an interesting thing is if it's possible, I think we should try writing a test for these validators just to make sure that they work. They are not just imaginary. So I'll go ahead and just create another test. We can call this patient validator test. So this should be a non-spring test because we're just testing a record, and perhaps what we can test is, I'll just start with the annotation. So I'm using JUnit here. We discussed it a bit last time, but again, the other thing is if you get lost or you don't understand something that we are doing, feel free to just interrupt and ask. There's more than enough people to like explain some of these concepts in some really good, interesting ways. So we're just going to test that throws if name is blank. Test. The interesting thing with the test, you can add this display annotation so that when the test is executed, you can get descriptive names. You'll find this in Kotlin. So even if you're writing JUnit test with Java, you can still be able to have a descriptive name for a test. So here you can add something more descriptive like check if patient name is okay. Check if patient name is blank, otherwise okay. Maybe somebody can have a more descriptive way of testing that, but I think we can just use that for now. So we can have an instance of patient. The other thing with the records, when you initialize them, you have to pass all variables. Like I said, because they are immutable, so you cannot create the patient and then modify it later. So you create it and that's it. It's sort of permanent. If you want to modify, you have to create a new instance. It's like string. If you want to mutate a string, you have to create a new instance of that string, or maybe use something else like string builder. So here we'll just pass what we need to initialize this patient. Just to make the code a bit descriptive, I'll make these variables. So we'll need a UID, we'll need a name. We'll need a name. Then the other thing is, what is the other variable? DOB. DOB is equals to something. I'll get a sample UID. There's this very nice website called that has UID generator. I use it all the time to like write tests with valid UIDs. Sometimes it's usually slow, but yeah, okay. So there we go. And then you can pass those as variables. Okay, so we have a value that we can test. So so we've passed a blank name here, and we've passed a blank DOB. Let me call this invalid patient for the test. And now we can assert. So our assertions will come from assert J. There are various assertion libraries. JUnit comes with its own inbuilt assertions library, but I like assert J. The phrasing there is usually a bit more descriptive and more flexible, at least for my taste. So assert that invalid patient dot. How can we assert that it throws? So I'm expecting that it will throw the exception immediately we try to create an instance of patient. There's an assertion for throwing. Assertions that thrown by. So there's this assertion that you can use to check that a particular function throws an exception. I can't remember the exact syntax, but I think, does anybody know how to work with it, or we can look at docs? But essentially, I believe you pass a lambda, and then it will execute that lambda and check whether the assumption, the specific assertion is thrown. So throwing collabo, I think this can receive a lambda, and then let's see what the other variables can be. Okay, so from the Java doc, so this allows to capture and then assert on a throwable, like assert that thrown by a throwable callable, but this method lets you set the assertion description the same way you do with that. If the provided throwable callable does not raise an exception, an error is immediately thrown, which is the way the test validates that the error is thrown. I think there's an example here. So you pass in here like as I said. So you pass in the lambda. Assertion will fail, but display as display me is instance of that. Okay. I think then the way we would write it is. So we can pass this initialization point into the lambda, okay, then dot as, I think this allows us to specify the exception class, which means we probably won't even need that object. Let me go back to docs a bit. Okay, is instance of the exception class that we're expecting. So in this case, is instance of the exception class we're expecting is assertion error, which is this is what the function should throw in case we pass in null. Let's see what this expects. Okay, so it just expects the class. Okay. I think that should do it. So within this, if so if the initialization of patient throws an exception, an assertion error, if it throws an assertion error, which is an exception, then the test will pass. If it fails to throw, then the test will fail. I believe that's how it works. So I'll just go ahead and write. Okay, so that passes because the exception was thrown. Any questions? Okay, but you guys can hear me, right? Stephen?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, hear you.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, so that's how we can validate that an assertion is thrown. I think we can use that to assert the other things. I just wish it was possible to test a specific point of the assertion, maybe by checking this error description. I'll just check the docs again. So using this, so we can pass in the lambda and then check that is instance of or as then the display name. The name won't appear in the error. Okay. So I don't know if this is the error message from the assertion, but only one way to find out. Dot as name cannot be empty. Let's see what happens. Okay, yeah, it seems to be the case. To be sure, let's try to do a negative test. With this, it would be let's try to do a negative test. So we'll pass in a valid patient, which means the previous objects we were using would become relevant now. So of course we are passing UID, name, and date of birth on this one. And here I'll just take this and create a valid patient. So the invalid patient has blank name and DOB, but the valid patient would have a valid name and valid DOB. Valid name, interesting name. interesting name. Let's go with Bruce Wayne. So invalid DOB. I'm hoping we can do some rejects here and actually check the DOB and valid DOB. Let's say valid DOB is 19, 94, perhaps 0, 5, 11. So that means with the invalid patient will have invalid name, and invalid DOB. I don't know why I use text for that DOB, because it can be things were probably running out of time last time, so we ended up using text for this. I think it can just be local date. It's strange to use text for date when you can just use that. Of course, on the database it will be stored as string because it's SQLite. There is no date type, I think, within SQLite. But even if there is, I think it's much easier to store it as plain text. So now our check for is blank won't work in this case. So perhaps you can check for something else, like is null. That would, so here we can use a specific date of 1994, 5/11. So that would be the valid one. So valid DOB, invalid DOB would be null. Okay. So here I would pass in the invalid DOB and the invalid name for the invalid patient. What's the problem? Invalid name. Oh yeah, with var you have to specify type if you are not going to initialize it on the right side. So some interesting bit of sanity within Java. You can't just do var some name, and because there is no type information here, so Java intelligently fails. So I'm sure you can do this perhaps in JavaScript. You don't have to like specify the type on the left or right hand side. But with Java, if you don't initialize it on the right side, you have to specify the type. Okay. Yes.
Sorry for interruption, but you can cast on the right hand side.
Oh, interesting. And don't apologize for the interruption. Your interruption is a blessing. So, would a cast here work? Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. Can you explain further? Or it just works?
Okay, I don't know how I can explain it, but the whole point of the reason why it did not work is because it did not know the type.
Yes.
But now if you cast the null, so we know the type of the left-hand side is the local date, even though it's a null.
Oh.
So the variable now understands it.
Won't it fail at that line if it tries to cast a null into local date? Would we get like a runtime error on line 16?
Line 16. If what? I didn't get the question.
So if it is executing, if we are running the test, and it gets to the execution gets to this line 16, and then it tries to cast this null into a local date, would we get a runtime exception?
No. So you see, this local date is a wrapper class. See, it's an object and it can be null.
Oh.
So the whole point of casting is just telling the var that the type, even though it's a null, is of this type, which is local date. You can cast any wrapper object or any object that can be a null.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
Okay.
And feel free to interrupt.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for that. So we can specify the type here. So that's one way you can solve it. But like I said, it's good that Java maintained sanity when it comes to this. Somebody raise their hand? Okay. You don't even. There's a message. Okay. Yeah, even Joe didn't know about it. Yeah. So when the VAR was released, I think in Java 10, a lot of people in the Java community understandably freaked out. They were very angry that this was introduced because it's very common in languages like JavaScript and basically where there is no type strictness. So they feared that we would get loose types in Java and it would create a whole range of problems that JavaScript has been dealing with for decades. So when the language designers presented it, at least by having such safeguards, it proved that at least there was some sanity in the design. So you could not just declare a variable of whichever type and then just leave it dangling within your program. So anytime your program is being executed, Java knows exactly what type a variable is. It doesn't need to kind of try and figure it out, which would lead to some interesting runtime issues. Yes, William?
Yeah, I think some things that I think it works, but I remember I did this for a certain project, and it was like for a medical system, and a senior, like a staff engineer, rejected it works, but he rejected that approach.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. He told me he just doesn't. Yeah, maybe they rejected and they gave me rules of the system and everything. I just joined the team and they really rejected that approach. I don't know if it was wrong, but maybe since then I don't use it for like enterprise systems. I don't know why.
I think they were scared. It is scary because it brings in the notion of loose types. Like the types are not very strict. But the way it's implemented, I think it is safe because you have to specify the type somewhere, either on the right side or on the left side. So it just helps you to reduce the amount of if you have long names for variables like buffered reader, and you are wrapping buffered reader with a file writer. So if you want to at least simplify on the right hand side so that you have some context to read the line, it helps with that. But it's also safe. I think they were probably just scared about what it could lead to, maybe in the code base. Did they give you a reason? Any specific reason?
Also, maybe for clarity, they just said it's not wrong, but I said maybe for certain system it needs totally clarity, like uttermost clarity, where maybe any person that will work on the code will know exactly what they are working with. Maybe not to guess, need clarity for patient management system Evo 2.
Oh yeah. I think it's the same fear of having loose types. They probably don't feel the type information will be lost. Yes, Kennedy.
Okay. I don't know. Okay, for the case of William, I don't know why they didn't allow, because, for example, in our case, we have a variable invalid date of birth is equals to let's say null. If we had this local date on the left hand side, in a sum, our local date invalid date of birth is equals to null. So we know the type from the left hand side. But now, because we are using the variable, we just pick the type and cast on the side of the null, which is still readable. In this case, we already know the type is a local date. But in our case, it's a null right now. I don't think... Okay, Miss Yoni, if there's any irreadability, I just see it is almost same thing that we would have done the left hand side. The other point, at least in your angejaribu kukworo, is if we are having a list and then you are initializing an array list. Most of the time, you will not find yourself casting the list. You find yourself casting the array list itself. And most of the time, when we are declaring, we usually say a list of string is equals to new array list. So if we say variable names is equals to null and then we do array list, then now like this time this list upper is an instance of array list directly rather than the list collection, like the interface itself. So tumesema like exactly this is an array list. It cannot be any kind of list. It's an array list. Did you come
that's true. For me, I think the view is more of tradition. The objection is more of tradition, and also like the rules that were set to be followed by the code base. I was told I'm violating the rules. Maybe it's not a matter of more being correct or right. It's a matter of also the approach that people kind of said. I don't know why, but I just had to follow that. That's why I raised that. Not it being wrong, but just that the approach, and I've seen it somewhere once or twice. And in fact, currently in code base, this is not allowed again. If you do that, it will not be accepted. I don't know why. Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Let's say it's a rule of code base. Me, I've used this on production and it will do work. It may reduce here a lot of typing, in my opinion.
I think that's true. But different organizations also usually have their reservations in terms of code style. So maybe we can look at it as a code style issue instead of like an actual technical safety or code quality issue. It's more of like a code design or styling issue.
True.
Yeah, maybe for me, the one that has felt valid for me is when you're dealing with number types. If you're sensitive to how much memory is made available for different types, or what kind of length of numbers you're going to assign to a type. So let's say you have a variable number here and you pass in 1. So is this an integer, a long? It's definitely not a float, right?
So this is an integer. Unless now you say you add an L or a F or the nini, those characters amani the nini.
Yeah.
So isn't it now redefine the left hand side? But if it's 1 alone, then I think by default it's an integer.
So
your IntelliJ has a feature, ukihover the var inakwambia the type. I don't know.
Oh yeah. It doesn't.
Like when you hover at the var, it should like.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Kennedy is right. It's an integer, but now maybe just for some people, I don't know why it's kind of set to follow certain rules. For instance, someone will just want you to specify again it being an integer, and it's automatically an integer. Now, I think at the end of the day, some things are right. There are certain rules for different organizations, as Sam said, and at the end of the day, it's just an integer. But again, for some people, they might need more specification. I don't know for what reason. I don't know on that case.
I think for style reasons.
But yeah, for style reason. But basically, as an engineer, you just know this is an integer.
Yeah. But the thing I was worrying about this, if at runtime you ended up passing a value that is of size long that doesn't fit into an integer, would you get a compile time exception, or would this fail at runtime?
Unless we try, like we can get the let's say the maximum number of a long, and then we initialize it.
Oh yeah.
We see it fail.
Yeah.
So in a fail, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, your suggestion was actually good. So yeah, we can try and assign a long value and okay.
And it fails because the required type is an int.
Okay.
Unless I have juu tungeweka a nel or something hapo mwisho, and then automatically it turns to a long.
Nice. Java is safe. Java is safe.
Maybe if I say,
Yeah.
okay, maybe I think it's a matter of if because of this I may say specification maybe by different organization. It just wants type safety, not type safety exactly. Also a matter of being certain. If juu hata tuseme kwa our test, if we are certain whatever will be passing is an integer, we just have to be certain kabisa if a long comes in, it will be rejected. So I think it's just being certain 100%.
But
More so for high, maybe things like patient data.
But with compile time checking, you're sure by the time you're packaging the program for production, you are if it's being checked as at compile time, there are no surprises at runtime. So in a way, you're actually very sure.
Yeah, true.
So I think we can have the verdict as it's a style thing.
And I can see Joe has a question. I may raise a hand up.
Oh yes, Joe.
Actually, the number conversion thing, itapatia watu wengi stress because the current primitive patterns zile ziko in preview. For example, just create a simple record which has a parameter, maybe long parameter, a single long parameter inside. Primitive. Oh, by the way, which Java version is this?
21.
Okay. We could have tried with 25. So in future, what you guys were arguing was type conversion. Like you can, if for example an integer, it can fit in a long. So converting from an integer to a long, it's easy. And if the long has very small digits that it can fit in an int, the reverse way can be possible. So in future, pattern matching will allow the primitive pattern matching will allow for us to deconstruct the record you have written to be simple int number without even having the long the int in the declaration. That's something surprising I found out recently.
Yeah, people will definitely be angry at that.
Yes. Actually, people have started being angry about it.
Yeah. Even me, I would not support it. That would. I know there's some optimization they'll do, but in terms of the code and how it will eventually be designed and read, a lot of Java developers will not like it.
Yeah, true.
Because strictly knowing the type at compile time and not getting any surprises at runtime is one feature of Java that makes us love the language. So if that changes, where now you can just declare a number and it can be an int and there's nothing that is specifying that it's an int, it will raise some eyebrows, I believe.
Yeah, I was cornered in an argument based on that. I didn't know actually.
Yeah. I'm sure they're trying to do so that they accommodate the new generation, but that one will alienate a bit. If var did and it has this much safety, then allowing you to not specify the exact type at compile time might just be too much for some people. So feel free to chip in the discussion if you have any questions. Just like you noticed, I'm totally happy with us having this be interactive. So I'm seeing that our time is moving a bit, so maybe I'll just conclude this and then we'll decide when to close. Let's just conclude this test first. So just remove some of the noise there, and so what we have here is an invalid patient and a valid patient, and we have invalid attributes and valid attributes. So this invalid patient has invalid name, invalid DOB, then the valid patient has a valid name and a valid DOB. So I think that allows us to also just replace that. We need to test. Okay, I was wrong. We have to test this at initialization, so we can't do it outside this asset throw lambda. So having them external like this won't work. So we have to because we're testing at initialization, so it has to be inside the lambda. We'll just pass those in, and I think our test. So just know in the back of your mind, this is valid patient, this is invalid patient, this is valid patient based on the attributes we passed in. Valid, invalid, invalid. So what I wanted us to do is have a negative test. So this one is testing an invalid patient. So we expect this to pass as is. This one is testing a valid patient. So we expect this. So we expect this test to fail. I wish there was a way of negating as at thrown by. Just out of curiosity. There is no negative version of it. Okay, yeah. So I think we'll just notice it by the test failing. So we expect this test to pass, then this test to fail. Okay. So yeah. So the second test has failed, which means it's actually checking for those attributes. So this is good. So you can even test when you're throwing exceptions, and you can go further and like test each of these, like the DOB one. Okay, so since this is a negative test, I'll just remove it. Now we want our tests to pass. So the proper way to do this was to not write the actual code first, so that we would see the test failing. I think for the next one we can probably do that. So here we'll pass a valid name and an invalid DOB, and we'll be expecting DOB cannot be null. So this is the error message we'll be expecting. DOB cannot be null, and we can actually comment that out just to see the test fail first before we get it to pass. Okay, so the test has failed. It has failed at 21. Yeah. So now when we enable the validator, yeah, all our tests pass. Same case will be for the UUID option. So valid name, valid DOB, but invalid UUID. So the invalid UUID can just be, we could have done something fancy with rejects, but I believe we can try that probably next time. But here we just pass an empty one and see whether that's tested. So to be sure, let's first of all disable that validator. Uncle Bob on his TDD blog, one of the rules of TDD is you cannot trust a test you've never seen fail. So if you write a test and it passes, then that is not really a test. So you have to see the test failing first before you know that it's actually testing something. So that's why this is kind of helpful. It would have been better if we wrote all of this before writing the rest, but of course we are not using specific formula for this, so that should still be okay. So all of them pass. So at least we have a valid test that is able to test the patient validation. And I think we've learned a bit about how the tests work and how the records and their specific instances behave. I'm seeing it's 9:09, so I don't know if, I think we technically we are supposed to close it at that, but it feels like we've just started. So But I think we've covered a significant chunk, and we've been able to have some very good discussions. So unless you guys have reservations, maybe we can close it there, or do you guys want to proceed? Okay, I think you guys are just as sad as me, because now we have to close it at that. It's 9 to 8, 8 to 9 p.m. So I think we can close it there. Any questions before we close? Any comments? Any thoughts on whether we should change the format or what we've been able to cover? Yes, Elias.
Hi.
Hey.
So for me, I'm new to Java, but I've had experience a bit of other programming languages. So my question is there like recorded whatever you guys are doing from? Because I think this is the third session. Yeah. So I'd request if I can get like from the first, second, and then just to get the flow properly.
You're totally right. Unfortunately, when we did the first and second session, we did not record. So this is the first time I'm attempting recording. I mentioned at the beginning, I had some reservations about recording because of background noise. There's a lot happening in my background. So, but I think most people informed me that they don't mind the background noise, like dogs barking and all that. So with this one, I'm actually recording. As you can see, it's recording there, and I'll share the recording after this. Maybe I can just specify where that recording will be shared. So the recording will be available on the Kenya JUG YouTube. Let me just open a private window. JUG YouTube. Okay. Yeah, so the recording will be available here. Please go ahead and subscribe. We have some recordings, by the way, from previous sessions. There's a talk here about building LLMs. We've had some really great speakers in the past, like Josh Long. Some of you might know Josh Long. Some of the guys working on Spring. Some of the guys working on GraalVM. So we've had some interesting guests, and some of those recordings, at least most of them, are available here. I'll just share this link on the chat. So I'll upload this recording on that YouTube channel. And since we've made an agreement that the quality of the recording doesn't matter, so I'll just share the recording, even if it happens to have background noise. So that's the link. Please go ahead and subscribe, so that you're notified when the recording goes out. I'll also share some of the clips on Twitter. So if you follow Kenya JUG on Twitter, you'll be able to find some of that there. Another thing maybe I should mention is these sessions we do them every Friday, so it's weekly. So you can add it to your calendar actually, so that you don't have to RSVP. I think I mentioned that on Twitter. You can actually add it to your calendar. I don't know if I can still copy this link, but the link is also available on the RSVP page. So you go add it to your Google Calendar. So when the session is on, you're just notified. You don't have to RSVP every time we announce a new session, so that you also don't miss out or forget about the sessions. Yeah. So the recording will be available, Elias. I hope that at least for today you'll have sort of a recap. But unfortunately, we didn't record the other ones. Okay, cool. So what language are you writing currently, Elias?
Previously I was working with Python, but I've begun some internships some other place, and they're using Java Angular. So yeah, I'm trying to learn Spring now.
That's nice. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the community. The good thing with Java is we have a very big community, so you'll be able to like end up learning quite a bit. So you can watch some of the old sessions that we have there, and I'll be uploading some of the upcoming ones, including the Java by example sessions. We have some other sessions that are coming up. I'll also try and make sure that those are recorded and are made available. Okay.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Any other comment, question? Okay. Yeah.
Mine is to kuomba masaa iongezewe. Like, okay, I don't know why 8 to 9 feels, sijui ama ni mimi peke yangu. 8 to 9 ni dakika kidogo. Like for example, I was late. Nimeingia around 8:30. 30 minutes, very less. At least either we do it 9:30 ama I don't know if people can agree.
But if
Ama kila mtu anakuwa from 8, we change. We move the time mbele kidogo. Ama we do long hours, 8 to 9:30 or 8 to 10 or something. These are very interesting things to do, in my opinion.
I think 9:30 is okay, just like the way we usually do our Saturday session. So maybe 8 to 9:30 sounds pretty nice.
Okay. Okay. So since this is a very it's an enthusiastic kind of Java session, if we can agree to go up to 10, I'm okay. But I remember some of the previous sessions, guys would be like, "Hey, keep time." So, so I'm usually always looking at the clock so that I don't overshoot. I remember when we were doing back in the day when I think we started with what were we calling that session? Old guard. I think Joe was there. We used to go up to 1 a.m. sometimes. And it was very interesting because we would like just have this back and forth discussions, and it was a lot of fun. But if we can have an agreement to change it to 10 p.m., I think personally I would be okay with it. So I'll the new announcement I'll put it at 10 p.m. So that if anybody is joining, at least they have that in mind. Otherwise, So otherwise, I placed it at specifically 9 because of some people preferred having a strict timeline. So 10 p.m. starting next one, right?
And I also feel like people to keep time so that if it's Kianza 8 to Manza 8, so that we don't take out a bit of time, guys gathering. Just kick it off at 8.
I agree. It's good also to start on time. I noticed that you can join 5 minutes early. So let's try to join before 8 so that at 8 we kick off. So that we don't have this waiting window for like people to join. But if you have like a work call before the 8 p.m. time, I'll understand. But if you don't have something prior to 8 p.m., you can try and join early so that by the time we just hit 8, we start and we don't end up losing time. Stephen, are you okay with the 10 p.m. one?
10 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Although I know most people will agree with 9:30. 10 p.m. is still okay, but I think the farthest people can go to is 9:30 because when you say 10 p.m., people will start complaining that it's taking too long. 2 hours from 8 to 10 seems long.
But people like Joe and Kennedy.
Personally, with me, is okay. Up to 10 p.m. is just okay. But I'm just looking at the rest of the audience.
Okay. Since we'll be recording, I think also it can help so that if you're not able to go all the way to 10, you can still drop off and review the recording.
Yeah.
But people like Joe and Kennedy will be complaining if we don't go up to 10. They'll be like, it's too short.
Yeah.
Let's try the 10 p.m. one, see how it works. If it's too much, we'll roll it back to 9:30. Yeah, because also me, I felt like we were just getting to the heart of the thing, and then it was already 9. So, and and we tried to like start early. So, I think let's try the 10 one and see how it works out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is next Friday. Next Friday we try until 10 p.m.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that will be good. So we agreed on that. Recordings will be made available. I am hoping after we do this, when we switch on to the next project, we'll have somebody else who can spearhead it. I think that will also make it interesting. Within Kenya JUG, we have a number of other events. So if you visit our events page on Zenlipa, you'll be able to see some of the events that we still have scheduled, and there are plenty. And I encourage you to also attend those as well. Patrick, anything today? Patrick.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine.
Today you are very quiet.
Yes, today I don't think I have something to add. Maybe the one with Joy, the one for converted integers directly. So I think Java is moving to something that's called the structuring. Yeah, so I think he was talking about the structuring.
Yeah, and I. Yes. Oh, just proceed. Proceed.
So if you remember, Brian Goetz once said the integers will be coded as like classes, but they act like integers. So I think we're moving in that direction. But the type safety will be maintained, and also type safety. So I don't have anything else to add.
Thank you much for that. What I was going to say is, on the next session, we'll try and start with a code lab of exploring that the structuring, right?
The structuring, yes.
Yeah. There is Java Playground, where you can actually run the latest version of Java. Java Playground. So I think we'll use this, since I haven't set up Java 25 on my development environment. I can do that before the session, but I think we'll be able to use this. Java 25 features preview. So we'll be able to use this and probably play around with that. Hopefully you'll be available to explain some of the concepts, because I haven't checked it out personally.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start with that next session. I'll note it somewhere. Yes, Joe.
I wanted to share something a few seconds.
No, it is. Just proceed.
Okay. Go to where is it? This is what I meant. And here we define a cell type and then the records that implement JSON value. So notice the constructors are JSON string S, and then JSON number D. But now if you initialize the JSON number as an int value, or even it can be 21.0, the destructuring accepts the int instead of double, because it fits in. So if you run this, it works. But if you make it an ideal double by maybe adding decimals, it won't work. It will just keep it. Yeah. So I don't know who was asking the var issue. Then your boss will have an issue with this. Yeah. So because we haven't declared any int yet, so it's an interesting feature I discovered recently. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So you have flexibility, but you also have safety. It's only that the code might not read descriptively. So you probably lose the ability to have descriptive code, but you still maintain safety, which is nice. But I'm sure a lot of people will not like that syntax. Thanks for sharing that, Joe. I think we'll discuss the destructuring concept, and I think that will sort of lead to that discussion in the next session, and we can dive deep into it. Okay. Any other comment or question before we call it a weekend? So Roy was saying in the comments, is this the basics to JS, or is this the basics to JS? I don't know if they're still in the chat. I don't know what that means specifically. I don't know if they're still in the session. Roy, okay, he's no longer here. He or she is no longer here. But I think they're asking whether this is the basics to advanced. And there's another session, Java for Everyone, that covers more of a lecture series approach that is headed by Kennedy. So Kennedy, maybe you can mention that for those who are like starting off and want to learn beginner concepts to advanced. Maybe you can mention a bit about those sessions and when they'll be starting.
Okay, yeah. So for those who are new to Java and would like a from a beginner friendly thing, from zero, cumulatively to advanced, we are starting another session from next week, Tuesday. It will be a 2-day session, Tuesday and Thursday, 9 to 10. It will not be, this is technical, so if you are already like advanced guy, at the beginning it will feel slow to you, because our major target will be like those who are new to Java. Still you can join, because every day is a learning day. I might be having something that you never knew, and I'm not the only instructor. Even part of the sessions, Samuel will be taking, Stephen, and other instructors. So, yeah, so our target is those who are new to programming, or those who are new to Java itself. We kind of teach them so that community grow. Like we steal people from languages like Python, because I don't know what they are doing there and JavaScript. So yeah, let's forget the trash that was funny or comic or something. But yeah, so we are starting next week, Tuesday. We will start from zero, like installation, blah blah blah. It will go to advanced, even Spring Boot, huko mwisho and all. But the main aim is to all of us understand Java, like Java, the basics, the advanced, before we get to frameworks now. Yeah, so I hope I will see some of you from next week. And later, the guys who you have who would like to learn programming, tell them. We'll put posters when in the group. We'll have the links, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Amazing. Looking forward to that. Okay, I think that is what Aroy was asking about. Unfortunately, they are not here. But if somebody knows them and is wapelekea. The time, I think it's same time, right, Kennedy? 8 p.m.
This one will be 9, from 9 to 10. Okay. So we saw 8 p.m. Some of us might be kidogo, so today I've joined at 8:30. See, Neza chelewa, and I'm the one having the session that day. So we decided that 9 was better. So from 9 to 10, or even if you guys want to say 10 something, we'll continue, as long as we all understand. That's the end goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once you're able to agree as a community, I think there won't be a problem there. Hey, can I get the link to WhatsApp group?